The Silent Sky. Real threats to humanity from space. When we look up at night, we see peace. The stars appear eternal, the blackness calm, and the faint band of the Milky Way stretches quietly across the heavens. Yet that stillness is deceptive. The space around our planet, and far beyond it, hides forces that could erase everything we know. What follows is not science fiction, but a factual journey through the real cosmic threats that science and government agencies have identified. From the smallest fragments of man-made debris to the unimaginable violence of dying stars, each stage brings us closer to the realization that our species lives on a fragile island in a storm of cosmic power. The debris we made ourselves. Humanity's first space threat is, ironically, one we created. Since the dawn of the space age in 1957, every rocket launch, every shattered satellite, every forgotten nut and bolt has remained in orbit. Today, the European Space Agency tracks more than 36,000 objects larger than 10 centimeters, and millions more too small to be seen. Each travels at speeds exceeding 25,000 kilometers per hour, faster than a rifle bullet. A paint flake at that velocity can pierce metal. A screw can destroy a satellite. NASA physicist Donald Kessler warned decades ago that collisions could produce a chain reaction, debris hitting debris, until Earth's orbit becomes a deadly cloud of fragments. This scenario, known as the Kessler syndrome, would trap humanity on its own planet, preventing launches for generations. As one European Space Agency report notes, if the critical density is exceeded, the total amount of debris will continue to grow even if no further launches take place. The threat is not extinction, it is paralysis. Imagine a civilization bound to Earth, its satellites gone, its global network silenced, unable to reach even the moon. The first cosmic warning is our own reflection. Technology without foresight can imprison its creators. Storms from the sun. Beyond our orbit lies a much greater power, the sun itself. Our star gives life, but it also unleashes invisible tempests. From time to time, the sun hurls vast clouds of charged particles, coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, toward Earth. When these particles collide with our magnetic field, they create geomagnetic storms. In 1859, a solar storm known as the Carrington event set telegraph wires ablaze and painted skies with auroras as far south as the Caribbean. In 1989, a smaller storm collapsed the power grid of Quebec, leaving millions in darkness. The U.S. National Science Foundation writes, "Extreme space weather is one of the few natural hazards capable of impacting the entire nation simultaneously. Modern civilization depends on satellites, GPS, and electricity, all vulnerable to solar storms. A Carrington-level event today could fry transformers, cripple communications, and disable spacecraft worldwide. Restoring the grid might take months, perhaps years." Space weather is not apocalyptic, but it is a reminder that our technological heartbeat depends on a 93 million mile distant furnace we cannot control. Rocks from the void. While solar storms threaten systems, asteroids threaten existence. Throughout geological history, Earth has been struck repeatedly by objects from the asteroid belt. 66 million years ago, a 10-kilometer-wide rock ended the reign of the dinosaurs and rewrote the story of life. According to NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office, about 30,000 near-Earth objects, or NEOs, are now tracked. Every few months, a new one is discovered passing close, sometimes uncomfortably close to our planet. An asteroid just 140 meters wide could erase a city. A kilometer-wide object could destroy a nation. A 10-kilometer object could collapse civilization. The odds of such a strike in any given century are small, but not zero. As NASA Administrator Bill Nelson said in 2022, after the DART mission successfully nudged a tiny asteroid, for the first time, humanity has demonstrated that we can alter the orbit of a celestial body. That experiment was not cinematic heroism. It was species-level insurance. The universe offers no mercy for those who ignore probability multiplied by consequence. Comets, the long visitors. As asteroids are predictable, comets are not. They sweep in from the distant Oort cloud, moving at tens of kilometers per second, often unseen until they near the Sun. A comet several kilometers wide could strike Earth with energy equal to billions of nuclear bombs. Because their orbits are long and eccentric, early detection is difficult. Sometimes humanity might have only months to respond. In 1994, the comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 collided with Jupiter, carving scars larger than Earth into the planet's clouds. The impact released energy 600 times greater than the world's entire nuclear arsenal. If such an event happened here, it would vaporize continents. Comet impacts are the universe's way of reminding us that even the safest sky can hide ancient wanderers that end worlds. The invisible fire of radiation. Space is filled not only with rocks and storms, but with radiation, high-energy particles born from distant supernovae and from the sun's constant wind. Earth's magnetic field and atmosphere shield us, but both are fragile. A large solar flare or magnetic reversal could weaken protection, exposing electronics and life to damaging radiation. Astronauts in orbit already absorb doses hundreds of times higher than people on Earth. On planetary surfaces without magnetic shielding, Mars for example, human life would face lethal exposure, as physicist Neil Gehrels wrote in a NASA report. Our planet's atmosphere and magnetic field are an extraordinary accident of fortune. Without them, life as we know it could not endure the continuous bombardment of cosmic rays. The dying of stars. Further out, beyond our solar system, the cosmos itself carries weapons of unimaginable scale. When a massive star exhausts its fuel, it collapses and detonates as a supernova. Within seconds, it releases more energy than our sun will emit in its entire lifetime. If a supernova occurred within 30 light-years of Earth, the intense radiation could strip away much of our ozone layer, bathing the surface in ultraviolet death. The U.S. National Academies of Sciences summarize, while rare, a nearby supernova could significantly alter Earth's atmosphere and climate, posing a hazard to biospheric stability. Astronomers have identified potential candidates, such as Betelgeuse, roughly 650 light-years away, far enough to be spectacular but safe. Yet cosmic scales remind us that safe is temporary. Space changes slowly but relentlessly. Gamma-ray bursts, the ultimate flash. Beyond supernovae lie the most violent events known, gamma-ray bursts, or GRBs. They occur when massive stars collapse into black holes or when neutron stars merge. A single burst can release, in seconds, as much energy as the sun will emit in 10 billion years. If Earth were caught within one of these narrow beams, even from thousands of light-years away, our atmosphere could be scorched, the ozone layer destroyed, and ecosystems extinguished. Astrophysicist Adrian Malott of the University of Kansas estimated that a nearby GRB could cause mass extinction similar to the one 443 million years ago at the end of the Ordovician period. Fortunately, such events are rare, but rare on cosmic timescales means inevitable eventually. The long night, galactic and cosmic risks.
Even more distant possibilities. Passing stars disturbing the Oort cloud, interstellar dust clouds dimming the sun, or the slow death of our star billions of years hence, complete the cosmic hierarchy of danger. None threaten us soon, yet all remind us that permanence is an illusion. The pattern of vulnerability. Across all scales, one truth emerges. The universe is neither hostile nor kind. It is indifferent. Space debris threatens our access to orbit. Solar storms can erase power grids. Asteroids can erase nations. And beyond them lie supernovae and gamma-ray bursts that can erase entire species. NASA's Planetary Defense Strategy states, "The probability of impact in any single year is small, but the consequences of inaction could be global in scope." The same reasoning applies to every cosmic hazard. Humanity's survival depends not on luck, but on foresight, on our willingness to act before probability turns to tragedy. The final reflection: enemies on Earth blind to the sky. After reading about cosmic threats, it is easy to imagine them as distant science, yet the deeper danger is not astrophysical, it is human. Governments know these risks. They issue reports, build telescopes, fund simulations. But international cooperation remains fragile. When nations compete for dominance instead of preparing for shared survival, our species forgets that the universe does not recognize borders. If an asteroid were discovered on a collision course with Earth, which country would lead? Who would share data, resources, and technology? Would politics allow swift action, or would mistrust waste the precious months we have? In 2021, NASA and the European Space Agency conducted a planetary defense exercise. The fictional asteroid struck Europe. The verdict of the simulation was sobering. Even with 6 months of warning, the world's ability to respond would be limited. We quarrel on this small world, yet above us spin forces that do not care who wins or loses a war. Cosmic threats reveal a moral truth. The only real defense is unity. A message to parents and teachers. Teach your children that every person matters, not because anyone is greater than others, but because each is a potential bearer of solutions. The child who gazes at the night sky today may one day design the system that deflects an asteroid or shields Earth from a solar storm. We cannot know whose idea will save our species, and that uncertainty makes every human life precious. As long as we fight one another, we will remain unprepared for the true challenges that drift silently beyond the sky. But if we remember that we are all equally unique, equally essential, perhaps humanity will survive long enough to meet those challenges not as rivals, but as caretakers of the only home we have ever known.